Y'all, it's your boy AsisGalvin coming at you guys with episode 13. What? No, sorry, not 13, 12. It's your boy AsisGalvin coming at y'all with number 12. So, let's pick up where we left off. I get this phone call. It's Trish. I pick up the phone. She goes, "Hey." I'm like, "What do you want?" She's like, "Oh, mind you, just this call came at the right time. It's February 7th at this point. February 10th or 7th, because I've only been there since like January 31st, so it's only been like a week. This is like the 8th or 9th day, so it's somewhere between February 7th and February 10th, but February 10th was Mia's birthday, so I know for a fact it wasn't that day because I seen her that day. Trish goes, "Hey." I'm like, "What do you want?" She's like, "I just wanted to see, I heard you were back." I'm like, "How did you hear I'm back?" "Oh, that kid that Tookie got into a fight with, well, the kid that..." First off, they said that the story was we jumped him. No. She's like, "Oh, I heard that the kid that Tookie got..." Pretty much the kid that got beat up by Tookie was the one that told a bunch of people in this town, which ended up getting back to Trish because she lived in that area. So she's like, "I heard you were here." I'm like, did you tell anybody my name?" She's like, "No." I'm like, "Well, I'm like, you like to run your mouth about other things, like my small dick." And she's like, "Oh, I was just mad." I'm like, "Oh, you don't have to try to play me like that. By the way, my joint is good. You know what I'm saying? My joint is good. That's my joint. My joint is good. I gotta worry about nothing. It ain't nothing. It ain't small like that." You know what I'm saying? She was just trolling because she was hating. She was mad. It's all good. By the way, I'm not sure y'all remember, Janelle was actually the girl that broke up with Trish. I made Janelle go do that. I'm not sure if y'all remember that, but Janelle was the girl that actually went and did that. Just in case y'all didn't remember. So she's like, "Oh, anyway, long story short, she's talking to me about nothing." And I'm like, "Yo, I really don't feel like talking to you right now. I'm not even in the mood. Like, fuck you." Straight up. I told her, I was like, "Fuck you. Like, I don't want to talk to you." She's like, oh, can you come over?" Now, at this point, I'm like, I've never really been over her house in no damn daytime. I was over there once at night, once before. But I was never over there in the daytime. So she's like, "Can you come over?" I'm like, "Why?" She's like, "Oh, my parents aren't here. They went to..." Where did her parents go? I don't know. They went to Queens or something. This is before she lived in Queens. She's like, they went to Queens because she was back up north. She's like, "They went to Queens and I just want you to... I want to see you." Me being a dumbass, I'm like, let me entertain this idea because I'm out of curiosity. I'm like, "So who are you there with?" They don't leave her by herself, by the way. She's like, "I'm here with my cousin." I'm like, "You have a cousin?" She's like, "Yeah, she's blah blah blah." I'm like, I think it's raining. I'm like, that's interesting. So she's like, "Yeah, all right." I'm like, "All right, fine." Mind you, that day was blizzarding for some reason. It was mad snow. I end up going up there, but I don't take my car. I take the bus, and then I walk up there on foot. I get to that house. I walk inside. It smells mad weird. I'm just kind of tripping out. I'm like, "Yo, I shouldn't even be here." I get in there, and mind you, I was just like, why am I going here? I don't know why. It was all curiosity. So I go there. I walk in the door, and the next thing I know, she's in there. She's cleaning everything. And we're talking, we're all chilling. I'm not doing anything with her or anything like that. I'm just talking to her. She's telling me, and I meet her cousin. She's like, "Oh, this is my cousin Khavita. Blah, 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 blah. Khavita, this is Ace." I see Khavita. Khavita is a very, very pretty little Indian chick. She looks like a variation of Trish. I got to show you guys a picture of Trish soon. I do have a picture of Janelle on my Facebook if y'all haven't seen it. From back when I first got here. So she's like, "Yeah, she's from blah, 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 blah." She was telling me about Khavita. And then after we all talked, Khavita went downstairs. Now, I'm sitting here still talking to Trish. I'm like, "Yo, I really don't like what you did." I'm like, "Yo, I'm not being unfaithful or anything like that, but straight up, I'm not fucking with you like that at all, son. Like, I'm done." I told her straight up, I'm like, "I'm done. I can't even do that." She's like, "Oh, it's fine. I don't care." I guess she was talking to somebody else. I don't know. She's like, "That's fine. I don't care." So, I was just like, all right, that's chill. I'm like, "Oh, and don't make it..." I told her, I was like, "Oh, don't make this an everyday thing because I'm not going to be doing this. I just came here. I haven't seen you mad long. I just kind of want to see what you were up to." I'm chilling there. Me and Trish are talking about something, and I was telling her about some stuff. I forgot what I was talking about. And then she comes out of nowhere, and she's like, "So what do you think about Khavita?" I'm like, "Yo, what the fuck is that?" I'm like, "What is that supposed to mean?" I'm like, she's cool. I'm like, she's alright. I'm like, she's cute. I'm like, what do you want me to say? She's like, oh, I just thought you liked her. I'm like, well, why would you think that? I'm like, look, and I pull my dog tag. I'm like, I'm good. Like, I don't, like, what do you, like, come on, son. Like, you stupid? She's like, oh, no, I just thought you liked her because, most people do. I'm like, you sound like a hater right now. I'm like, I'm about to leave. She's like, oh, no, I was just wondering because if you were thinking about getting with her, you can't get with her. I'm like, what? I'm like, what's that supposed to mean? She's like, if you were thinking about getting with her, you can't get with her. I'm like, what does that mean? She's like, meaning that she don't like your type. I'm like, what the fuck is my type? I'm like, I'm getting tight, mind you. I'm like, what is my type? What are you talking about? She's like, oh, don't even get no ideas. I'm like, nigga, please. I'm like, yo. I'm like, and at that time I was mad confident. I'm like, yo, there's no way you can tell me I can't get with whoever I really want to try to get with. I'm like, if we have that connection, I'm good. That's another thing, you guys, that I want to explain to y'all. I base the way I work with females, I don't work off looks. I don't work off like petty confidence and materialistic things. I go by a simple motto, which is kind of like, do you have the eyes to see me? I only want to deal with females that have the eyes to see what's unique about me, meaning my intuitiveness, my ability to read people, my ability to get in tune with people, and my wisdom about certain things that I've been through. So if I can run into a girl, any female that can see that in me, then I'm confident in that. I'm like, I feel like if any girl really gets to know what I'm like and what I'm capable of, and how I can understand them, then I'm good. But for the most part, most girls don't see that. Most girls are too superficial. They don't know. They don't see it, And I know a lot of you guys may have that issue where there's a lot of things about you that are mad and unique, but most girls don't see it because they don't have the eyes to see it. I would probably say back then, on average, maybe 1 out of every 10 girls may have had the eyes to see it. And even if they seen it, doesn't mean I was attracted to them. So it was very low odds for me to even get with anybody I would like to get with. Khavita, I couldn't tell about with her, but I know she had like a certain aura about her I liked. So I was just like, I'm like, I told her, I was like, yo, if she had the eyes to see me, she'd see me. She's like, oh, no. I'm like, look, I only got about an hour. Can we please stop talking about this? She's like, oh, well, I'm still cleaning. If you want, go ahead and try. I'm like, try what? She said, go ahead and try to get with her then. I'm like, you see the dog tag. I'm like, you just want me to cheat. I'm like, get the fuck out of here, my nigga. I'm like, you know what? So I'll do, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go try it. But I'm going to try it in a way where I'm going to see if we have a connection. That's what I'm going to do. She's like, all right. I'm like, I bet you I can do it because I bet you she does. She's like, she doesn't. She ain't going to be liking you like that. I'm like, it's not even about liking. I bet you we have a connection. I bet you I could sit down there and talk to her and she'll listen to me. No, she won't. I'm like, all right, you know what? Give me a half an hour. I said, give me 45 minutes to a half an hour. She's like, oh, go ahead because I'll be done cleaning by then. So I go downstairs. The first thing I see her sitting in the corner. Now, she's not social. She's just chilling down there. She doesn't know me. She thinks that I'm dating Trish. So I went down there, and I was like, look. I went downstairs. The first thing I said to her was, I was like, Khavita, right? She's like, yeah. I'm like, yo, I want to try something with you, if you don't mind. She's like, what? I'm like, I want to try something you may think is kind of odd. I just want to try something out, okay? She's like, yeah, okay, fine. I'm like, all right. So I sit down, right? I'm sitting kind of in front of her, but there's a table in between us. I'm like, I'm going to ask you a few things. Just answer them honestly, okay? And she's like, okay. And I'm looking at her. I'm looking her right in her eyes. I'm like, I'm going to try to see if we can connect. I kept it rad real. I was like, I think we can. Other people don't. I was referring to Trish, but I didn't say her name. I was like, other people don't, but I think I see something in you. I'm pretty intuitive. I think we're cool. I'm like, I'm not trying to get with you. I'm like, this is my girl. I showed her my dog tag. I'm like, this is my girl. I love her to death. I'm not trying to do anything like that. I just really want to see if we have a connection because I think we do. She thought it was cute. I'm like, yeah, but I really, that's the way I feel. She's like, all right. I'm like, all right, so let's talk. I'm like, I looked at her, right? And I put everything into the first thing I said here. I'm looked at her and I'm like, all right. I'm like, you have trust issues, right? She's looking at me. I'm like, don't answer. That's what I said to her. I was like, don't answer. Because I was just looking at her facial expressions. I was like, every girl has trust issues, so I can't even say that's what it is. I'm like, any girl has trust issues. But I'm like, and I told her, I was like, when I was looking at her, I was like, when I look at you though, you seem similar to me. And she's looking at me with this curious face. I'm like, let me talk. I'm like, let me spit that. That's what I said to her. And I was like, yeah, like you look like one of those people that you're introverted. I can tell just from the fact that you came down these stairs and you were sitting down here. But I'm like, there's something else about you. I'm like, you seem mad complex. You seem extremely deep but misunderstood. I'm like, but not only that. When I look at you, I see something else. I'm like, you look like fun. you look like you're a person that loves to have fun. You look lighthearted. I'm like, there's just something about you. And I'm like, you know what it is? I'm like, look at the way you wear your shirt. Like, she had this like cardigan on or something like that. And just the way she was wearing it, I was like, that tells me a lot about you. I just started going off. I'm looking at everything about her. I'm looking at the way she's sitting, the way she's moving, the way she's like talking to me. I'm just looking her in her eyes the whole time. And I'm just having this conversation where I'm like, I really feel like I go through all these things. I'm like, all right, how accurate I was. She's like, oh, I would say probably 95%. I'm like, damn, I didn't even think I was going to be that on point. She's like, yeah, it's crazy. She's like, I'm like, but yeah, I'm like, it's no gimmicks, anything. I'm like, what it is just, I'm really good at reading people. And when I look at you, I see something. And then once she was like, oh, well, let me try. And she said a couple things. She's like, well, you seem like a person that goes through a lot. And you seem like a person that you there's something about you want to be recognized. And I'm like, what makes you say that? She's like, it's not necessarily that I'm saying you're insecure. It just looks like you want to be recognized because, one, you're wearing that chain. What guy runs around with his girl's chain, with a picture of his girl on his neck? I'm like, you either got to be extreme. She's like, you either got to be an idiot or extremely loyal. I was just like, this is what I do. I rep her. Like, why wouldn't I? Yeah, at that point, but she was right. She was right, honestly. It was because I wanted recognition. And she was like looking at me like, you sure? I'm like, actually, I told her, I was like, you're kind of right. So we're just clicking. We're just clicking like crazy. And then, like, we just had this connection. It was fucking crazy. And I'm just like looking at her like, there's other people in this world I connect with like this. Like, I didn't even know it myself. I thought Mia was one of those people, but even the connection I had with her was a little deeper. She was more weathered in life. She went through more things, and that really goes a long way with me. I feel like a person that knows pain can really know me because I've been through a lot of stuff. Even at this point, I've been through quite a few things, but I haven't really been through the majority of stuff I'm going to go through. But at this point, like, talking to her, I was just like, this is crazy. Like, this person just understands me. And I was just talking to her. We're just talking. Next thing you know, an hour goes by. I felt like 10 minutes. Trish comes downstairs, and we're just kind of like talking. She's mad. Rain. She's mad like, what are y'all doing? I'm like, we're just talking. We're just having mad fun talking. Trish gets pissed off. Instantly goes upstairs. I keep talking to Khavita. And I'm like, son, I'm like, when is the next time you're going to be here? I definitely want to see you again. I'm like, there's so much more we need to talk about. She's like, I don't know, because I don't really come up here. I live in Florida. I'm like, what? I'm like, you live in Florida? She's like, yeah. I'm like, when are you going back? She's like, tomorrow. I'm like, are you kidding me? And I told her, I looked her right in her face. I was like, look, I'm extremely thankful I met you. I do not want to lose this. I don't know what this is. I told her, I was like, I don't know what this is, but there's something about you that's just like, I never clicked with anybody like this before. I'm like, this is crazy. She's like, oh, well, let me do this. And she wrote something down on a piece of paper, and she folded it and she kept it. And I wrote something down on a piece of paper, and I folded it and I gave it to her. It was my number. I was like, here. I'm like, whenever you get a chance, just give me a call. I'm not the kind of person that likes to ask girls for their number. Like, if you're feeling me, you call me, goddammit. Like, don't, I'm not doing the whole giving you the option to hang up, not answer. No, here's my number. And I was like, what'd you write on that paper? She's like, I'll tell you when I talk to you. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, I'll tell you when I talk to you. I'm like, all right, sounds cool. I get up. I was like, can I have a hug? I gave her a big ass hug. And when I hugged her, I kind of felt her aura. I was like, wow, this is insane. I'm like, why do we have such a connection? I gave her a hug. I was like, I'm so glad I met you. I went upstairs. I talked to Trish. I was like, all jokes aside, I'm not even trying to say I won that bet, but we had a connection I didn't even realize. I'm like, you must have known. She's like, I didn't know. I didn't think that. I'm like, yeah, well, like I said, you don't really know me too well at this point anymore. She's like, yeah, well, whatever. I gave her a hug, and I walked out that door in a blizzard back home. And just thinking to myself, like, that was crazy. Like, there's people out here like that? And I will let you know, that goes a long way. Khavita definitely becomes a part of this story later on. Like, years later. A lot of these people that you meet now, that I'm talking about now, come back into play later. This is why I'm telling you about how I initially met them. Like Lexi, Khavita, and all these other people that you're meeting. So that was ill. That was a crazy connection. I never really had like a connection with somebody right off the bat like that. And another thing, it was just for me going out of my character. Like, I'm usually introverted, so I don't really want to go out and just jump in front of somebody and just start talking to them like that. But that's how it was. So it was cool though. I can't even front. I enjoyed it. But overall, I went back home. I even told Mia about it. I was like, I met this person. It was crazy. I didn't tell her exact details. I wasn't like, I was over Trish's house. But I was just like, I met somebody the other day, and this chick, she was mad freaking cool. I'm like, it's rare that I ever meet anybody like that. I'm like, it's crazy. I told her that. I was like, no one's fucking with you. I told her straight, I was like, me and you are like soulmates. I'm like, her though, she's just, this is something about her. Like, she would make a really good friend. I was like, it's crazy. I'm like, you don't really meet people like that every day. She's like, yeah, I can understand. I have people like that. I'm like, yeah, you know the people that you just have those connections with. But that those type of connections are not to be mistaken with relationships. Yes, those connections are cool, but you got to know the difference between somebody that is going to be a good friend to you and somebody that can be a little bit more than that. There's definitely a difference, so you definitely want to make sure you know that. I just so happen to know that because I dealt with a lot of people, but, you know, you got to make sure you know that. Long story short, I get back home, I meet up with Toogie. Toogie's like, yo, what's good? I told him about everything that happened. We were laughing our ass off. Justin comes over, and Justin comes in the door. He's like, yo, son, yo, what you think about going to school for knowing how to fix cars? I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, we should do that. I'm like, that's crazy. I'm like, we should go to school for knowing how to fix cars. Like, I'm like, what is that supposed to mean? He's like, yo, there's this school. I forgot what it was called. It was like IDT or whatever it was. He's like, there's this school in Jersey that we can go to and know how to fix cars. I know somebody that goes. He can get us in there and get us, you know, take us over there so we can get set up. I'm like, yo, I don't know if I'm ready to go to school for these type of things like that yet, but we can check it out. I mean, I don't you know, it's whatever. He's like, yeah, we definitely got to do that. So that was cool. That leads into some other stuff. But anyway, that's pretty much the end of this particular episode. I just kind of wanted to go over that connection I had with Khavita and explain that to you guys. Next episode, we're going to pick up somewhere. I'm not exactly sure where yet, because there's a couple of different ways we can go about it, but stay tuned for the next one. I guess that's a cliffhanger of its own, because you don't know where I'm going to go next. But it's your boy, AsisGalvin. It's damn near raining. I'm not sure if you can see this stuff. You probably can't see it. But anyway, it's your boy Ace. I'm out. One.